So for the Wolf Priest, he actually starts with Ulrich's Gift, which is like a very, very good spell. It's actually amazing spell to start with for the Wolf Priest, because it makes your units consistent at actually hitting the enemy and like getting their hits in. And what Ulrich's Gift does is that it increases melee hit chance and melee damage by 10%. And it also gives immunity to all alone, but you cannot disengage or flee anymore, and you cannot use like range attacks and skills. So it's just for melee units. So, and mastery. Uh, the mastery also improves the range from 15 meters to 30 meters, and the melee hit chance and melee damage boost is increased to 15%. So it's like Wolf Priest is just like, and also like another thing that is like worth considering about the skill is that it's really, you can stack them. You can stack these, and it's just like really, really good. So like both of these, I believe they just belong to the really good category, and you just have to be like a little bit smart on what kind of unit you want to use this on, and yeah, if you want to like be able to disengage afterwards or not. But yeah, for like those kind of buffs that you get, it's really good. So yeah, and you can just spread it around your entire team, and it's also kind of useful for the fact when you don't want to lose the all alone. That's also, I think. Yeah, so both of these are just really, really good. Okay, so Snow King's Decree is just a bit of a like a funny meme spell, honestly. It's like, how would I say it? It's basically like the hand shot that the witch hunters have. Just called the, it's Trial by Pain. It's basically Trial by Pain, but in magical form. And it's pretty funny. So what it does is, if the enemy performs a melee or ranged attack, you deal 10 to 15 damage to the enemy for 2 turns, right? And Priests of Ulrich are immune to this spell, so yeah. It's basically a debuff. And the mastery is the mastery increases the damage to 15 to 20 and increases the range to 30 meters and the duration to 3 turns. I mean, since you're able to like stack these, I almost just kind of want to like put the basic version into not bad. But I'm probably also just gonna put this into okay. Right? And the mastery is just kind of not bad. Like, okay, if like enemy hits you 5 times, that's gonna be like 75 to 100 potential damage from Snow King's Decree. That's kind of a lot. And you are also able to stack it with Trial by Pain, with the basic version, and the mastery. I kind of wish that Trial by Pain was a little bit better, just like Snow King's Decree, to be honest. If it was like matching the damage numbers of Snow King's Decree better. I don't know, I think it's just mostly like a meme. Like, you are able to like tell the enemy to go kill themselves, you know, and they will do it. But you won't get XP from it because you didn't kill the the unit just killed itself, which is stupid, but it's kind of just the way it works. So yeah, maybe honestly, this one is just, I don't think it's worth casting at the enemy whatsoever. Is it? I mean, by itself it's kinda bad, but if you're stacking it with the master even, maybe it could be relevant. I think this is just a little bit more appropriate for this skill. I don't hate it, it's just a bit memey, I guess. Okay, and let's go to the next one. So Winter's Chill. Winter's Chill is a buff, and enemies engaged with target they receive a debuff that reduces melee hit chance and melee damage by 10% for 2 turns, and the mastery does it by 15%. Oh, and like the nice thing about Winter's Chill is that you're also able to target yourself. It's also quite neat. But yeah, like Winter's Chill, like Snow King's Decree and Winter's Chill, it's a thing that you can do with like melee resistance, like strategy, so that the enemy is trying to hit you, but they are unable. They cannot hit you because you have too much melee resistance, and then they kill themselves from Snow King's Decree. It's definitely doable, but if it's good, that's a bit more questionable. But like still, even if you're like not doing a melee resistance strategy, like giving enemy minus 15% melee damage can be quite nice. Because it's gonna make you like more tanky, obviously. And it's just also overall just kind of a nice buff to give everybody, like nobody is losing when you're using it. So the basic version, I feel like it's just, I think it's not bad. I mean, it's not like a sort of a thing you would be casting a lot. Maybe it's more okay. And this one, I feel it's good. Okay, the next skill that we have is actually called Wild Pack, and this spell is kind of weird in how it actually functions. So Wild Pack, you apply it to yourself and allies around you, and it gives you immunity to fear, and you start proccing fear against the enemy. But in Paramod, what fear does is that it reduces strength, and it also reduces alertness to 1 whenever whenever like fear procs. But with this sort of a spell, there is also like an additional effect, and that is that it also reduces like melee hit chance and melee resistance by 10% for 2 turns. And the mastery, you increase the fear penalty to 20% hit chance and melee resistance. So people will have a harder time actually hitting you, but they will be also like easier to hit. So about Wild Pack, I think it's actually just kinda bad because of the reason that I think most people are going to have some kind of either immunity to these leadership effects, and most people are also gonna have 100% terror resistance or fear resistance. Not all the builds do that, but most people are gonna have pretty high like values. You're also going to have like hard time actually proccing the fear and stuff. As for the basic version, I think it's just bad because it doesn't last long enough, so I think we're just stuck with this version. The thing is, like, imagine that you have units, and these units are able to hit enemy. But now, because you actually applied this sort of effect to your units, now you're gonna be proccing also enemies' Serenity. And like I understand that Serenity tank might be like 1 or 2 units, but I'm just like not seeing the ideal scenario of proccing like fear on the enemy actually. It's gonna be like very inconsistent. Maybe it is a thing. maybe it is a thing, but I guess I'm just gonna put this into okay. Plus, like, also another thing, you don't really care about being immune to fear, generally speaking. You kinda don't care. It also allows you to make like some sort of a warband which kind of ditches the leadership and immunities entirely, because with this spell you're able to be immune to all alone. With this spell you're able to be immune to fear, and with the warrior priest spell you're able to be immune to terror. So you can do that, but that's just a lot of spells that might just get dispelled in one turn, so that kinda sucks. Okay, the next one that we have is, oh, Frostbite. I think that this is probably the most used spell for the Wolf Priest, and it's basically the Wolf Priest version of Lightning Strike. It has like lower damage than Lightning Strike, but it's still pretty good, right? Yeah, it's nice. I think probably you want this spell on every single Wolf Priest, just because it gives you the flexibility of sometimes you're not able to like close the gap with Wolf Priest, and in that case you're also like or let's say maybe not closing the gap, but maybe also it has to deal with let's say that you're stuck in a fight as a Wolf Priest against the enemy. You might be, and you notice like in a different fight that enemy is like very 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 close to dying, so you can just use it as a sort of a ping to finish off the enemy and kill it. So I think all Wolf Priests should want to have this skill for just in case, or like 90% of Wolf Priests should want it. The basic version is just, I think it's just bad. Granted, there is a thing that it also reduces SP by 1, and I think you might be also able to stack it with the mastery. And I'm gonna put this one into the really good category. I'm putting this just into the really good category because Wolf Priest can be built in like many ways. You may be able to also build it in like full spell damage sort of a thing. But also you may be just using the Frostbite as, like I was saying, just as a sort of a ping or like some kind of a ranged option that could maybe help out a little bit. You could also hypothetically use it in scenarios where you are using like a pinning shot and stack it for the SP reduction and stuff. It's doable, but I don't know. Somebody's gonna put this into really good. Okay, so Howl of the Wolf. So Howl of the Wolf basically reduces the cost of charge by 1 offensive point. And when another ally is engaged with the same enemy, your melee hit chance and critical hit chance is increased by 5% for 2 turns. This is not stackable. And the master increases melee hit chance and critical hit chance by 10%. And the duration is increased to 3 turns. And also the thing is that you're able to stack both of these currently. So the basic version is able to reduce the cost of charge by 1, and the mastery is also reduces the cost of charge by 1. And if you combine the basic and the mastery version, you're gonna end up with 1 offensive point charge attacks, which are pretty crazy. Especially like for example, if you crit the enemy and they get stunned, in that case your disengage becomes free. And yeah, after the enemy stunned, it's pretty much just that, because you're able to keep disengaging and keep charging for 1 offensive points. So in this case you are also able to turn, for example, when you're able to, for example, attack with a warrior like 5 times, sorry, normally like 3 times with Adrenaline Rush, with this combination, you're able to attack the enemy 6 times in total. And they basically kind of just abuse this in like the recent PvP tournament. So yeah, but this spell is just gonna be changed soon. But honestly, like just trying to pull off the combo, it can be sometimes really awkward. Like you need very specific deployments and also maybe an enemy that is not that has an like hard time actually punishing like grouping up and stuff. But other than that, beyond that combo, the spell, the mastery, I think is still really good. I think like the reduced charge damage goes a long way in my opinion. And also like just kind of being able to group up and fight the enemy with the additional 10% melee hit chance, just giving your enemy, sorry, giving your friends just higher hit chance and crit chance is really freaking nice. You're also able to, for example, stack it with the Strength of Sigmar, I think it's called, which is another like crit chance sort of a thing. It's also doable. Okay, anyway, because these two spells stack, and the basic version goes into Insane, and the Mastery goes to Godseer because of the interaction. Yeah. And let's move on to the last two spells for Wolf Priest. So we have Blessing of Ulrich, which is like also another way to make like a crit based older warband. The basic version just gives you increased melee critical hit chance by 5% and critical damage by 10% for 2 turns. And the mastery gives you increased critical hit chance by 10% and critical damage by 15%. And it costs 4 offensive points. It's basically just a sort of a skill that you put on everybody before you go into the battle. You never like actually cast the spell during the battle, because at that point it's just too late and you cannot really afford to use this sort of an option, like 4 offensive points for some kind of a buff, and it might be also like difficult to actually pull off. But yeah, if you're doing like a crit team, having this one is like really good, and this one is just bad. It's just not worth it. Even if you're like trying to stack them, it's not worth it because the duration is 2 turns. So it's a lot more awkward to actually pull off and stuff. And the last skill that we actually have is Ice Storm, and it actually reduces maximum and current offense points by 1 for 3 turns, and the range is 30 meters. And the mastery increases the damage a little bit. It's like 16 to 24, but the range is reduced. So the basic version, because the debuff lasts for 3 turns and it reduces those offense points by 1, it's actually pretty good. I really like taking it. And also, like with the basic version, you have a higher spell range, right? So I quite like it. I quite like it. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. I'm thinking, yeah, like for example, there's often like a situation where you're not quite able to approach the enemy warband with your wolf priest. So what do you do in those cases? Well, you can try to debuff the enemy, you know, with the ice storm, and that's gonna really suck for them if they're gonna be missing 1 offensive points. And the mastery, the way the mastery should be working is that with the mastery you're gonna have like a lot more damage, so it's more of like a damage choice. I don't know, like the damage ratio just kind of sucks, so I don't think it's worth it. I think you're probably better off maybe doing this spell instead, the Frostbite. So I think this one's just kind of okay. So I think I'm just gonna actually end the stream here.